Cleopatra was one of the most famous queens in history. She was the last active ruler of ancient Egypt, and her life was full of drama, danger, love, and power. Even today, people around the world remember her name. Her full name was Cleopatra VII, and she was born in 69 BC in the great city of Alexandria, Egypt. Alexandria was a beautiful city near the Mediterranean Sea. It was known for its huge library, busy markets, and tall lighthouse. Cleopatra was born into the Ptolemaic family, a royal family that ruled Egypt for many years after the time of Alexander the Great. Cleopatra was not Egyptian by blood. Her family originally came from Greece. However, she loved Egypt and wanted to be accepted by the Egyptian people. She was very intelligent and learned many languages. It is said that she could speak more than 7 languages, including Egyptian. This was very special because many rulers before her did not even try to speak the language of their people. Cleopatra believed that understanding different languages helped her understand different cultures and people. When Cleopatra was only 18 years old, her father, King Ptolemy XII, died. According to Egyptian tradition, she had to rule together with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. At that time, he was only about 10 years old. They were also married, which was common in royal families in ancient Egypt. However, Cleopatra was strong and confident, and she wanted to rule Egypt by herself. This caused problems between her and her brother's advisors. Soon, a power struggle began inside the palace. Cleopatra was forced to leave Alexandria because her brother's supporters wanted full control. She did not give up. Instead, she gathered an army in Syria and prepared to fight for her throne. Around this time, a powerful Roman leader named Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt. Rome was becoming the strongest power in the world, and Egypt was an important country because it provided grain and wealth. Cleopatra knew that if she could win Caesar's support, she could become queen again. There is a famous story about how she secretly entered the palace to meet Caesar. Some stories say she was wrapped inside a carpet and carried into his room so she could speak to him without being stopped. When Caesar saw her, he was impressed by her intelligence and confidence. Cleopatra was not only beautiful but also very clever and charming. She spoke to Caesar about her desire to rule Egypt and explained why she deserved the throne. Caesar decided to support Cleopatra. A short war followed in Alexandria between Caesar's forces and the army of Ptolemy XIII. In the end, Cleopatra and Caesar won. Ptolemy XIII died during the conflict, and Cleopatra became queen again. She now ruled Egypt with another younger brother, but she held the real power. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar became close, and they had a son together named Caesarion. Cleopatra later traveled to Rome and stayed there for some time. Many Romans were curious about her. Some admired her intelligence and royal style, while others feared her influence over Caesar. However, their relationship ended suddenly when Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC. After his death, Cleopatra quickly returned to Egypt to protect her position. Rome then fell into another civil war. 2 powerful Roman leaders, Mark Antony and Octavian, were fighting for control. Cleopatra once again understood that her future depended on Roman politics. She met Mark Antony, and their meeting changed history. Antony was brave and ambitious, but he was also known for enjoying luxury and pleasure. Cleopatra impressed him with her grand arrival by ship, dressed like a goddess, surrounded by music and beautiful decorations. Mark Antony and Cleopatra formed both a political alliance and a romantic relationship. They had 3 children together. Antony supported Cleopatra and even gave her control over more lands. However, this made Octavian angry. He believed Antony was giving too much power to Egypt and forgetting his loyalty to Rome. Octavian used this situation to turn the Roman people against Antony. He said that Antony was controlled by a foreign queen. In 31 BC, a great naval battle took place at Actium between the forces of Octavian and the combined armies of Antony and Cleopatra. It was a decisive and dangerous moment. Unfortunately, Antony and Cleopatra were defeated. They escaped back to Egypt, but their power was weakening. Octavian followed them to Egypt. When Antony heard a false rumor that Cleopatra was dead, he was filled with sadness and chose to end his own life. Later, when Cleopatra realized that Octavian planned to take her to Rome as a prisoner, she refused to be humiliated. According to tradition, she allowed a poisonous snake, called an asp, to bite her. She died in 30 BC at the age of 39. After her death, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. Cleopatra's son Caesarion was also killed, ending the Ptolemaic dynasty. Octavian became the first Roman emperor and later took the name Augustus. Cleopatra's dream of keeping Egypt independent was over. Even though her life ended tragically, Cleopatra's story has never been forgotten. She is remembered as a powerful queen who used her intelligence, charm, and courage to protect her country. Some people focus on her beauty, but historians often say her greatest strength was her mind. She was educated, brave, and determined to survive in a world dominated by powerful men and large empires. Today, Cleopatra remains a symbol of strength and mystery. Books, movies, and plays continue to tell her story. Her life teaches us about leadership, ambition, love, and sacrifice. She lived in a dangerous time, but she faced every challenge with confidence. That is why, more than 2,000 years later, the name Cleopatra is still famous around the world. Cleopatra and the Roman Empire is one of the most dramatic stories in ancient history. It is a story of power, politics, love, war, and ambition. Cleopatra VII was the Queen of Egypt, and during her life, Rome was becoming the strongest empire in the world. Egypt was rich and important, especially because it provided food and wealth to many countries. Cleopatra understood that her country's future depended on its relationship with Rome. Because of this, her life became closely connected with two powerful Roman leaders, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. When Julius Caesar first arrived in Egypt, Rome was already involved in civil war. Caesar was chasing his enemy Pompey, who had escaped to Egypt. However, when Pompey arrived, he was killed by the supporters of King Ptolemy XIII, Cleopatra's younger brother. The king's advisors believed this would please Caesar, but Caesar was not happy. Instead, he became involved in Egypt's political problems. Cleopatra saw this as her chance. At that time, Cleopatra had been removed from power by her brother's supporters. She needed help to become queen again. She secretly met Julius Caesar and convinced him to support her claim to the throne. Caesar was impressed by her intelligence and personality. With his military power, Cleopatra defeated her brother's forces and returned to the throne. This was the beginning of Egypt's strong connection with Rome. Cleopatra and Caesar formed both a political and romantic relationship. They had a son named Caesarion. Cleopatra later traveled to Rome, where she stayed as Caesar's guest. Her presence in Rome caused gossip and criticism. Some Romans respected her as a powerful queen, but others feared her influence over Caesar. They worried that he might give too much power to a foreign ruler. When Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, everything changed. Cleopatra quickly returned to Egypt, knowing that the political situation in Rome was becoming dangerous. After Caesar's death, Rome was divided between three leaders, Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus. This period is known as the Second Triumvirate. Over time, Octavian and Mark Antony became the most powerful figures. Mark Antony controlled the eastern territories of Rome, which included areas near Egypt. Cleopatra knew she had to build a strong relationship with him to protect her country. When Cleopatra met Mark Antony, she made a powerful impression. She arrived on a beautiful ship, decorated with gold and purple sails. Music filled the air, and she dressed like the goddess Isis. Antony was amazed by her confidence and charm. However, their relationship was not only about romance. It was also about politics. Cleopatra needed Rome's protection, and Antony needed Egypt's wealth and resources for his military campaigns. Their partnership became stronger over time. Cleopatra supported Antony with money and ships for his battles. In return, Antony gave her control over more territories in the eastern Mediterranean. They had 3 children together. Antony even declared that their son Caesarion was the true son of Julius Caesar. This decision made Octavian angry. Octavian believed he was the rightful heir of Caesar, and he used Antony's actions to turn the Roman people against him. Octavian began a campaign of propaganda. He told the Roman citizens that Antony had fallen under the control of a foreign queen. He said that Antony was betraying Rome by giving land and power to Egypt. Many Romans believed this story. Tension between Octavian and Antony continued to grow until war became unavoidable. In 31 BC, the two sides faced each other in the Battle of Actium. It was a large naval battle near the western coast of Greece. Antony and Cleopatra combined their fleets against Octavian's forces. During the battle, Cleopatra's ships suddenly retreated. Antony followed her, leaving much of his fleet behind. Historians still debate why this happened. Some believe it was a planned escape, while others think it was panic. Whatever the reason, Octavian won the battle. After their defeat, Antony and Cleopatra returned to Egypt. Their situation was desperate. Octavian's army moved toward Egypt, ready to end their rule. Antony tried to defend his kingdom, but his forces were weak. When he heard a false report that Cleopatra had taken her own life, he became heartbroken and chose to end his own life. However, Cleopatra was still alive. Antony died in her arms after learning the truth. Cleopatra knew that Octavian would soon capture her. He wanted to take her to Rome and display her as a prisoner in his victory parade. For a proud queen, this would have been a terrible humiliation. Cleopatra decided she would not allow herself to be used as a symbol of defeat. According to tradition, she chose to die by allowing a poisonous snake, called an asp, to bite her. She died in 30 BC. With Cleopatra's death, Egypt lost its independence. It became a province of the Roman Empire. Octavian became the first Roman emperor and later took the name Augustus. The Roman Empire entered a new period of stability and power. Cleopatra's son Caesarion was killed, and the long rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty ended forever. Cleopatra's relationship with the Roman Empire changed history. Her alliances with Caesar and Antony shaped the future of Rome and Egypt. Some people see her as a dangerous woman who influenced powerful men. Others see her as a strong and intelligent leader who fought to protect her country in a world dominated by Roman power. She lived during a time of great political change, and she used every tool available to survive. Even today, the story of Cleopatra and the Roman Empire continues to inspire books, movies, and discussions. Her life shows how politics and personal relationships can shape the fate of nations. She was not only a queen but also a skilled diplomat who understood the importance of alliances. Although her story ended in tragedy, her name remains one of the most famous in history. Her connection with Rome helped transform the ancient world and mark the end of one great kingdom and the rise of another powerful empire.